Hello coin collectors out there, welcome back to the Big D Coins channel. Hopefully everyone is having a great day. As always, in today's video we are going to be looking at the 1943 wartime nickel, and that is right, this is the nickel coin that actually has 35% silver in it. So even if it's in rough shape like this one right here, pretty much the entire face of the coin is all worn off, it will still 100% definitely be worth more than face value, because the melt value of these coins alone is $1.07. In today's video we are going to talk about that, the melt value of the coin, compare that to the regular metal content of the coin. We'll talk about the mintages of the year 1943. It was actually the first full year of the wartime nickel. They started making these the previous year, but we'll get into that, why it's the first full year. And we'll talk about any error or variety coins associated with 1943, and there are quite a few of them that are listed in the Cherry Picker's Guide. One of the more interesting one is the 1943 P Double I. It's a double I, so there's doubling in Jefferson's I. It's a double die obverse, but it's focused on the I, and people call it the double I error coin. So that is pretty cool. But first, let me flip it over, and we'll talk about some of the basics with this coin. So we see that big S right there. We can just to verify that these are the years and the mint marks that they say they are. So we got 1943, flip it over, San Francisco Mint right there. 1943, flip it over, Denver Mint on the top. 1943, flip it over, and this should be the Philadelphia Mint. There it is. So they moved the mint marks to the top right here to be able to identify them in case they wanted to ever pull them out of circulation. Normally they would be right down here until they moved them to the obverse side of the coin in 1968. So 1968 is when they moved them from right there to the front side. But for this short period of 42 to 45 with the wartime nickels, they were right up top. As far as the mintage of these coins go, they are rather high considering that they are silver coins. So 1943 at the Philadelphia Mint, we'll start with that one, 271 million. At the Denver Mint, just 15 million. And then at the San Francisco Mint, 104 million. Now the reason why they have silver in them is because of an act by Congress, and Congress made that act because nickel was very highly valuable for the armor plating of World War II. So they didn't want to use all the nickel to make coins when they had silver, which they could make the coins with. So they took the nickel out, and then they used that to make armor plating for World War II. And so from 1942 to October 8th, 1942, up until the end of 1945, these nickels are 35%. Now I mentioned October 8th, 1942. That's an important designation because prior to that, they had the regular metal content for the coins, and then they switched over partway through the year. So if you've got a 1942 nickel, it could be either the wartime nickel or the regular metal content nickel. If it's a wartime nickel, it'll have a mint mark. They only made them at the Philadelphia and the San Francisco Mint that year, so we'll have a large mint mark at the top of the coin. Now there is one very, very, very valuable, it's actually, I believe it's a unique coin, so only one of them is known to exist. It's a 1942 S silver alloy, but it's got a mint mark right down there. So they used the regular die prior to the wartime nickels, but they made it with the silver alloy composition. So that's known as the 1942 S-502, in case you want to look up more on that error. But let's get back to 1943. So the most cool, I think, 1943 error is known as the 1943 P Double Die Obverse. So double die obverse means there's doubling on the letters, usually on the letters, but on this one it's doubling around Jefferson's I. So the doubling is visible on the date, liberty, the motto, and most noticeably the I. There is a secondary I below the primary I, so secondary right below the primary I, giving it the nickname Double I variety. The Cherry Picker's Guide has a value of $500 for a mint state 65. 300 for a 63, 125 for a 60, 95 for a 50, and then 50 for a 40 graded coin. Now my coin, as you can see in front of me right here, would not get anywhere near that grade, and it's so worn out that we wouldn't even be able to see any doubling or lack of doubling on the eye right here. We could see it in the letters. So the letters that the doubling is on is Liberty, the motto, so in God we trust, and then Liberty, and then on the, most notably on the eye. Now there is a designation when you're looking up the value of your coin, and that is the full steps designation. If your coin was struck well at the mint, it will have these lines going across where the steps are on Monticello, and that will give it the full steps designation. If it's just the slab right here, that means that it will just get the mint state. It won't be able to get bumped up to the full steps designation to it. Now, even if your coin's in uncirculated condition, it might still not have that full steps. It depends really on the strike of the coin when it was made at the actual mint. Let's talk about a couple of other errors for 1943. Interestingly, there aren't any error coins from the San Francisco Mint. The other ones that are errors for 1943 at the Philly Mint, there's a Double Die Obverse over date on 1943. It's a popular variety, was created when the die was first hubbed in 1942 dated hub. And then subsequently hubbed with the 1943 dated hub. So we have the 1943 over the 1942. That's a pretty cool error. The diagonal of the 2 is visible when the lower opening of the 3. So the lower opening of the 3, you've got a 2 kind of sticking out right there. That's the 1943 Double Die Obverse over date error. So that is associated with the Philadelphia Mint. There's another Double Die Obverse, nothing special on that one. That's the 102 error. There's a 103 error, and then we're talking about the 106 error associated with the double I. Now, for Denver Mint, there is one error associated with the 1943 Denver Mint. It's a RPM, so a repunched mint mark. And then it has to do with the mint mark. There's an additional D appears to the south. So if you've got another D that you can see just to the south of this right here. The giant mint mark was used for the wartime issue, produces a lot of repunched mint marks. So I guess that's evident by the fact that we talked about a couple of the double die, and there are repunched mint marks for other errors, which we'll cover in other videos. At a mint state 65, that 1943 DRPM is worth $75. So a more common for the 1943. If you go down to a 40 grade, that's only worth $10. So those RPMs must be pretty common with the 1943D. All right, let's quickly recap what we looked at in today's video. So we looked at a San Francisco, a Denver, and then a Philadelphia mint 1943. The reason why they used a large mint mark was in case they ever needed to pull them out of circulation. The metal content on these coins is 35% silver. I don't think I mentioned actually the mint. Yeah, I did mention the mintages on these, so no need to go over those again. The silver value of these coins alone is going to be worth $1. So even if your coin's in rough shape, don't worry too much. Just hang on to it because it's worth face value. All right, everyone, that's all the info that I've got for you today. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you're into coin collecting, please do check out some of the other videos on this channel. There are wartime nickels in 42, in 44, and 45 as well, which maybe you'll find interesting. Thank you very much, everyone, and best of luck coin collecting out there. Enjoy.